Hello. So I'll do another intro because my audio is a my audio is really messed up. So basically, what I'm going to be doing today and talking about is sort of how my process of art is becoming a lot more personal to me, and how I am sort of breaking away from uh, doing things that aren't personal, and how I treat art and my paintings as sort of a visual diary for the day. Um, and I try to do, multiple paintings every day and multiple forms of art and creative expression. Um, and I'll sort of just talk while I'm doing it and see how long it takes. Um, Now, what happened is I tried to record for about 7 minutes, and then I realized I had a setting on my microphone that was wrong, and it basically just didn't capture my what I was saying. So I did already start a painting, but it's still super abstract because I only took you know, some minutes to start it. So y'all didn't miss much. um, and I'll just sort of move from there. Um, I'll try to be like a little bit bold in this to exemplify, like just not really worry about it being good. I'll try to make it be the shapes that I want to see right now, the feelings that I want to see. Like this being a figure, and that being the shadow, and maybe that is a figure that are sort of down. I like a lot of figure center pieces, figures in the center of compositions, but I'll also see if I can put one right here. See what I see in it. I did one last night that I might show at the end as like an example of something that kind of just comes out when I'm tired and there's no real forethought. Because I guess when I like to paint, I like to paint in the moment without being restricted by like the past or the future, and just kind of experience it as much in time as I can, as much as you could possibly hope for. But I also do enjoy like sort of crafting a world and or story. I'm mainly like really interested in sort of world or sharing feelings, and stories, just sort of about emotion, um, and like memories. Because I've come to like the sort of mentality now that this is the most important time of my life, and every time is the most important time of my life while I'm in it, and even if it doesn't feel that way in the moment, it just feels sort of like, I'm still waiting for something cool to happen. I do really cherish my moments these days. So, yeah. Not sure what that guy is, but he can be there, and we'll do multiple figures. So, I could sort of play around with this lighting, but thinking if I do some of this. This actually gives a good sort of addition to the landscape or something. Um, I've noticed I've enjoyed my work with like a more what I feel like is a mature way of handling values, like something where it's things can be more subtle and less contrasty. Because I've like tried to do stuff with a lot of contrast, and it starts to feel a lot more artificial and less like what my general tone is when I'm painting. Like, cause sometimes I paint with a lot of veracity, a lot of like, you know, high energy, and other times I really don't, and I want that to come through. in the work. Like, I really am into like that artsy sort of abstract expression way of thinking about like art, because it there's something still like a little bit magical about it to me, but in the same way I still see it as like a mathematical like truth that we're trying to approach with, you know, making art. There's some truths out there, of like what is beautiful, how much it depends on the time that we're in, and things like that. So it all does come out in the work eventually, though. These thoughts that I have, a lot of my thoughts, I'd say, in my recent works have been sort of otherworldly, dreamlike, afterlife type states of being, where, you know, the like general ties of needing to eat, or like moving somewhere because you have to make money, rather than like moving to another place because you have time and there isn't anything else to do but move or walk, you know, and just experience things. That's been interesting thoughts that I've had, interesting enough to where I continue to feel like I'm approaching them with my paintings, but I'm not yet cementing them or communicating them to my like later self. Yeah, I can have these people. I like this value contrast here. This could be water. These could be more people down here. You know, everybody that I know whose paintings I really enjoy, they seem to really put a lot of effort into the conceptual side of things. And even if they can't articulate it, you can just tell when people think a lot about what they're doing. And I think that's really meaningful, to like put time into something and hope that people are willing to listen. It's a really bold thing to do. And I'm trying to get myself more into that, just like knowing that my words can have some meaning, and my paintings, my art can have some sort of communication with others. And I used to look for that freedom to be able to do that, and now I feel like I have it a lot more than I used to where like the skills that I need in order to make the work that I'd like to make are much closer to me than I thought. And I'm also not looking to any other artists for guidance about, you know, what type of art should I make. It's more, I enjoy camaraderie, and I enjoy like talking to people, but I don't need like art guidance anymore, and that's a feeling that's like really cool. To be able to sort of have your own voice after a while. Like, I know what I want, and even if it doesn't impress the people that like maybe originally I wanted to like be in the same echelon as them, it I've noticed will attract people with similar mindsets to me, and I like that. You know, they can see it in my work, that what I'm starting to do nowadays. And I think every artist should really experience that freedom, and like sort of having to let go before you're able to become what you want to become, or do what you want to do. It takes a lot of like letting go of your ego, letting go of your like pride in your work, and just making it because you love to make it. It really is about the process. For me, anyway. Some people are more concerned with the end product, and I guess I am concerned with end product, but it's like I usually am just as impressed by the end product as maybe other people are, because sometimes I feel like I'm just like a vessel for these things to like escape my subconscious, and like my taste just drives it, and it's not really like conscious thought. A lot of that forethought, that thinking goes on before I actually put paper to, or pencil to paper, or drawing pen to tablet. Yeah. Interesting. So, a ball of light, these figures, like what are... I don't know what anybody's stories are here yet. But we'll see how this sort of pans out. It's already got a bit of a value like structure that's kind of interesting to me, where there's like mixed contrast. If I look at it in black and white, it does get, there is a lot of contrast in the back, but like I haven't really seen the colors yet through, so you know, I might splash in something, you know, a little bit crazy. I like doing these exclusion layers and then copying the whole thing and then using that as sort of like a gradient map type thing. Like this difference layer too, so let's see how that looks if I put it. I like to see these like kind of layer modes over the entire image, because sometimes it really has a nice effect. Like there's something cool going on here that maybe, I don't know if it'll stay the same if I change the value, but it will. Yeah, it will stay the same. It's really interesting how these are like really striking values, so maybe lift that up and see. It does really change the feeling. It gives a lot more color and subtlety to everything. And if I duplicate it again and let's say paint it in a bit more, like be more deliberate with my shapes, it might have some interesting effects. So I could sort of like go in here with this really saturated deep blue and work out some colors and value. Yeah, really deep blue here. So I like how this is molding into the back, but I think it would be cool if we had something else going on. So let's see how this looks. Yeah, this is interesting, having these different hues here. So I'm wondering if instead of changing the values as much, like I just change the hue here, and that separates these things from this part of the background. And maybe it's a little bit too dry in there, but that way we have that, and maybe a bit over here too. So maybe there's a bit of a warmth over here, and some warmth over here. This does then take your attention to the halo, so take it back a bit. And then, okay, we'll work with that, and then we'll also just do something kind of crazy and just take like the previous part of the painting and maybe, what if, you know, it is sort of all here? What does it look like when you just have a smaller version of the painting on top of the character? It's like the whole thought right here. And what happens when you change this layer mode? Truly am just trying to see what happens, if there's anything interesting. Like, so yeah, I think some of these colors are interesting. So if I just key it in or mask it in some way, and this is going to add contrast, so the statement will become less simple. So it'll be more to deal with after, but you know, I can sort of just add in these parts. And they feel abstract, but it's sort of like building from afar. It sort of builds something onto what's already happening here, and maybe I'll take it down a peg and show something here. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so notice I'm getting a little bit closer to the painting, a little bit more intimate with it. So at this point, you know, after it's been like 20 minutes almost, or it's been about, yeah, 20 minutes in total. I forgot to record some of it. What I will do, let me cover up my face because I don't want to be on camera the whole time. What I will do a lot of the times is when I start to feel like, okay, this is the direction I want to take something, I will really push it and see how quickly I can get things to look good to me. So, you know, I take a step back here and think about it and kind of think, where can contrast go? Where, that's all I really think about, is just the relationships between things. So, to go off of that thought, like, how would I want this to look if it was like huge? What would I want you to feel if this painting was really big? Like in your vision, like on a cinema or on an installation on a wall, or projected onto something huge. Like, how would I make it still interesting, even up close? Well, I like to add more abstraction, and these darks can really push the background, like ruin the sort of ambience of it. But I just add in a little bit of shapes, and then maybe pops of color, like places where I think they would look interesting. You know, like lighting this up, or going with a green and lighting this up, and maybe having a warmer darkness, a darker value coming from the top. And I like this color relationship here. You see how I'm like kind of just rambling? That's kind of how I see it with the painting. Some people call it noodling, but I do think it is sort of like when you allow yourself to sort of ramble in your head. Usually I'm not saying these things out loud, but you allow yourself to ramble, you can start to put yourself in like a dreamlike state, or at least a meditative state, where you're reacting to the painting, but you're also creating it at the same time, and your decisions are all informed by the painting, and your reactions to it, like how you start feeling, where things should go, as if you were in a real space. You know, the consciousness, like when you're in a real space, you're basically creating the space in your head and understanding it, and then it is sort of projected into your vision after, like, you know, within a really short amount of time. And a lot of it's based off of like the information you've gotten before in your life, and things you know to be true. You know, the sky is up, the ground is down, and when it works, you don't really think about it. That's why it's like when people have disorders or like degenerative disorders where you know, like Alzheimer's, or if you have like a stroke and parts of your brain aren't functioning as they should, things get really confusing for people. And so that's a big thing, that like when you're painting or drawing, getting yourself into the state where you are actively making something and seeing it at the same time and getting that feedback, it's really interesting because you're in control of like the world that you're also taking in. So it's really freeing in a way. That's how I feel about it. There's a lot of beauty in being able to control things like that, like just every nook and cranny if you want to, and the big sweeping motions if you want to as well. A lot of times I like to work in big sweeping motions. But you know, I will, like usual with my videos, maybe speed this one up at the end, but I think I'd like to just take you through it all. At least for this type of idea, or like a warm-up, because I think, you know, I can do a lot more of these, but it's hard to do a lot of talking while doing them. Then I'll be spent, you know, and I don't need to be spent for this, because this is just me trying to reach out to people and see if they, you know, like it, essentially, with sharing this process. Okay, so we have these figures back here that I liked before, so I'm gonna make sure that they're still sort of, you know, they can be like rocks or they can be figures, but they, you know, it's like that feeling when you see a rock or something in the distance and you can't really tell if it's alive or not, and then it moves and flies away and you realize it was a bird, or it doesn't and you realize it was a log. You know, there's always something interesting about that, where like our brains are hardwired to notice the little intricacies that make something alive or not. So we're like very sensitive to it, and sometimes that sensitivity will like trick us, you know, be overly sensitive. Okay. I'm really not doing anything drastic with this painting as well. I'm sort of just letting it live. I'm using my one brush that I like to use, and you know, I don't see why this can't be something more, you know, like light beings sort of coming out of here. Why not? My chair is so uncomfortable. Sorry, I gotta fix. Okay. Yeah, my butt is starting to hurt. I have like a really uncomfortable setup right now. There's not much I can do about it. But we live. It's honestly not that uncomfortable right now after I just fixed the way I was sitting and pushed my screen back a bit, because I'll notice like at times like I'll have such bad posture, but not in like a hunched over way, more in like a slouched down, curling up into my chair, or like my feet are up or something. My chair, and if I'm standing, just standing really awkwardly. But these paintings are really for me. So I think this is gonna, this video might really be titled or called as how to paint for yourself. And I guess the way you do that is you first have to really care about yourself and love yourself. That's a journey. But allowing these things to just be your time for you sometimes, just not for anybody else, I think is really important to being able to do it, practice it healthily, and not in a way that burns you out. It's just doing it with care for yourself, because this is just something I really like to do, and I like to talk about it, or talk while I'm doing it as well. So it's a plus to really is like a privilege to be able to sit here, just be painting, and I have the time to do that. I don't really have any pressure not to, even if it isn't successful in other people's eyes. Just spending this time is really worth it. I enjoyed it just as much as any of my other parts of my life. And let's say this is a figure here. How am I gonna insinuate that? And where are their hands? That's always a lot. Are their hands curled up into themselves? Is their fingers? Maybe. I'm getting a lot more close to the painting now, so I'm seeing things in a little bit of a different way. I'm color picking quite often from the painting. That's why I try to add in a lot of saturation in the beginning, because the colors will just start to get muted and gray over time. So just took a second there to think about the work and about what I'm doing here. Um, right now I'm sitting in my room, just in front of my keyboard and with my tablet, and just moving my hand around on this canvas. And I'm gonna edit this video a bit, meaning just compile it, make sure the sound's okay, put some music behind it, and I'm gonna share it. And then I'll be able to look back on these moments right now. While I'm in it, it kind of just feels regular, but looking back, it is kind of a really interesting thing to see, what I would have done differently at every step, or would I have done anything differently, if that's the case, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It's still super abstract, but just spending a lot of time on one part of it also gives it a little bit of interest overall, because you can see that one part of it took a lot longer, but it sort of justifies the rest of it. So even if you have one part just sort of made to be a bit more representational, less abstract. I see this. I think we have this red here. I really love the way reds and blues look like when they're both saturated on top of each other, but one is slightly more saturated than the other. Usually I have it being the red more saturated, but I like the really saturated blue here. Going underneath this bit of orange too can sort of come up and sort of envelop that. And we can choose the yellow here that's much brighter, and then slightly darker orange. Cool. There, yep. And then we can bring this cool up. It's warm in other contexts, so use that to my advantage, and I can also scribble some stuff like here. Maybe all of this can just get more dark there. There's a bit of red I can see coming through here. Would be nice. Justify that. It's one thing about contrast that I've been thinking about, and that's what a lot of these sort of pseudo diary entries are about. It's about like how everything is just contrast. Like everything is just the relationships between two things. Light, dark, you know, big and small. Like that is painting, that's drawing. You know, you have lines, you have big and small, you have light and dark, and sort of with that, there comes like other things, you know, bright, like saturated and muted. You have like a bunch of different subsets of those things, but you can quantify things as big and small, right? Something's either bigger or it's smaller. You can quantify it, and then brightness, light to dark, is more of like a range. You know, you can have something in the same way, like that's just brighter than something else, but there is more of a range with light to dark, and big and small shapes paired with like light and dark shapes, I think, is all I really think about most of the time. Just painting away, like small strokes, big stroke could go here, or a big shape could go here, you know? And not really overcomplicating things. Maybe I'll do that there. And maybe I will give this a bit more of a face or something, feeling like it's some sort of creature. It's sort of in a pouch or something that comes out here. I'm gonna draw here, and there's like a Modillo Pikachu thing. And then maybe these are this person's hands playing with its ear. Right, and then so you know I have that, and it's still fairly abstract in the background. So like, what do I do to, you know, make parts of it more important? Well, I could mute the values. I could do something like this, where I duplicate the whole thing and then put this part of it here and turn it to like a different layer mode. Pin light here, and then sort of painting darker shapes, darker values back here, so it's not as contrasty, but you know, I don't know what that does for me. It makes everything feel pretty and kind of ethereal, and then I can sort of move it across here and make them look. What do I want anything back there? Maybe I do. Maybe I like across here, across the stars. And then, you know, I won't be too careful. Again, it's a warm-up, so merge everything down. Still have this exclusion, this different type of layer, and then, you know, have it be an overlay. What that is doing is, I think, I like that value structure that it's giving me, so I'm going to just take this and make it of like a luminosity layer, see what I get from it. A little bit better values, and then maybe I'll duplicate it and do a sort of different darken layer like that. Like this is interesting, these colors are interesting to me. But what if it's, you know, lighten layer also is interesting. And if I move it down, you know, what do we have? Some stuff for the background maybe. Maybe I want to preserve everything but just this fire texture that's right there. Maybe I just want to have it sort of shadow this person, and I'll erase this, I'll erase that, and have it just be there like that. And maybe save this version and then come over here and take this back up. Okay, I like the darkness, the subtlety. What does this do for me? Difference. I'm going to save this. And what I'll also do, look how multiply affects everything. Really does push the blacks. Why not? Why not push them? You know, this can get really dark, so let it get really dark. And then we can bring it out. Same thing here, you know, does this all need to be lit and colorful? Maybe not. Multiply is cool in that way. You can kind of just, you mute everything, but you also really have a nice control over the value. Yeah, what if that's really dark around here? What does that do for me? Well, it makes it still somehow maintain some depth, but I'll take some of it back. And then maybe these are like extreme darks that I can just sort of paint in. And red too, so red, yeah, like that. Feels like some sort of drapery or something there. Maybe we can continue that here, and maybe continue that there. Maybe even continue it here. Really darken up this part there, maybe this too. And I can really just take different parts of this, have fun with it. But you know, I'm gonna leave this as an idea, a feeling, like I said, a diary. It's quick. Jot it down, less than an hour. You can have something that is meaningful to you if you allow yourself the space. And I'm not judging myself while painting this. I'm not, like I said, looking at any reference or comparing myself to any other art or artists or pictures or life or anything. It's just me and the painting, essentially. But I do have like a reference up, like I do always have like a reference board, but I don't really look at it. So like, I wouldn't even call it, it's like the thought of it being there may affect things, yeah, but I don't really look at it because I just start looking at my painting and enjoying that process a lot more. So I'm gonna say it's flatness here, so we carry that here. And sort of break that up with that figure. And carry this darkness back here. then overall you get like an interesting look to the painting. So maybe I'm noticing there's like sprawled darks, but maybe there's more of a, I can sort of add a gradient, and if I use, like I've been using the same brush, there's nobody telling me I can't just use like a different type of brush here, so maybe I will. And I'm on like a mask layer, so I can sort of kind of play with that. Just the texture here. Maybe see how that looks here. See how that looks. And then maybe I'll add vivid light. Have this have sort of a glow. What's going on? Oh, drawing on the wrong mode. Maybe the quality of light is like, you know, like astigmatism, maybe it goes over things that it shouldn't be. I'll just mess it up a bit. I don't like that. So, I mean, use a different brush to sort of feel. Maybe not vivid light, maybe hard light will do what I want. Maybe it will, you know. Use this extreme. Yeah, hard light tends to saturate things. It really does so if I stay pretty muted. Have blue smoke from this billowing fire here. Maybe sort of insinuate there's texture and like life back there. Take it out again and insinuate again. Bring it into the foreground, but yeah. I'd say, you know, I would, at the point where I start thinking, usually, like, oh, I think I'm almost done. That's when I can also take a step forward, you know, and keep working on it. But I think for this, the purpose of this recording, you know, I will just leave it. So I want to make a thumbnail and stuff too out of it. So here we go. Let's say this is my warm-up for the day. What does this tell me about how I feel when I look at it like this? What is this telling me? Well, it does make me feel positive emotions, and that's good. That's telling. I'm in a good mood. And it feels calm and earthy and alien at the same time, which I like. So, you know, maybe I just hit it with a little bit of contrast. Get better tone, maybe. I don't know if I like these purple tones. Yeah, I like the tones. I like where this is going, where it's headed, this idea. So, you know, I can kind of just say, alright, this is my idea, my sketch, right, my painting, and save it, and, you know, move on. I might do some, like, little tricks to sort of give it a little bit more texture or feel in some parts. This trick really outlines everything use find edges and then convert it to a different layer type and get like these outlined textures, you know. Also, this is kind of cool, so like maybe I paint this in some places. This really blown out version. You probably need like a less contrasty brush. Let's make sure I didn't. Okay, I almost crashed there, but I saved it. And let me make sure I save this painting. Yeah, I almost crashed my Photoshop. Yeah, if anybody's interested as well in the brushes I use, or the brush mainly, the brush that I use, just let me know in the comments. I can share it in the on a Gumroad link for free. You can give me money if you want, but it's just supporting me. It's not really going towards anything but allowing me to just continue doing this. Justifying it at least. But no, I kind of like this hazy feeling, but I want to control the values a bit more, so I'm going here and actually take it some of it away. And, you know, I could spend hours on this painting, and the first hour is really important to the rest of the piece because you're setting up yourself for like any other decisions you'd make. And I'd say if you start to make really drastic compositional decisions, just stay in that place and don't worry about, like, you know, working out smaller problems or like, you know, specific things in the painting. If you aren't happy with the, you know, where it's at compositionally to begin with, then, you know, you might want to just give it more time. And, you know, I'm seeing like I want, you know, something here, like something. So I'm actually gonna merge all this down and look at the previous version. That was interesting, but I think this version's hitting a bit more, and maybe I could actually come back and use this as some sort of layer, or if it's Pinlight. Pinlight always does weird stuff. Pinlight just like weirds me out. Darker color actually could work here to sort of bring back some of those more muted tones if I just sort of paint it in. And I actually like this transition, so, but you know, darken that maybe not, maybe darken some of this, like that, darken some of this, yep, darken some of that. And you have a space here, like a sense of space, I feel like. There's a flatness to it, but it also does feel like you're in some different plane. And I really like stuff like that. So I just merged everything together and I'll save it. I don't think I really need to do any tricks to it. Yeah. Nothing much that I need to do. Sharpen edges, maybe a smart sharpen. Just to crisp everything up just in a technical way is really different. essentially what I've done is taken how I felt and put it on the page. And this will just be one of the few paintings I do today, and it gets me going. You know, the little color relationships are really interesting. Sometimes I like to look really deep into the painting and zoom in on one part and think about why I like it, like one single part, one note, and maybe make another painting out of that, or do some ideas in 3D based off of it. You can do so many things, but the initial thing is like you're doing this for yourself, not for anybody else. And it's kind of funny that I'm doing this for a video to show it off, so that does affect the way I work, but it's still for me at the end of the day. The video is still for me, you know. I'm my own fan. I like looking at my own work because it's, you know, it's me, you know. So hopefully this recorded okay. I'm gonna skim through it and check, but this is the painting I was able to come up with in about an hour, and I can take off my overlay so you can see it a bit better. Yeah, well, not really. That'd be a little bit too much work, but I could, if anybody wants to see this painting up close, you can always comment. I'll send you the PSD file, or send you a bit bigger image of it if you care to look at it up close. But when I look it up close, I just kind of see, stuff that's just really abstract and it's kind of cool. It's interesting. But viewing it from like this far, you just see all the the 3 or 4 notes that are in here, just like little points in it. It's nice. So yeah, that's the painting, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, peace.